Hi, my name is Chris. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm doing Leetcode problem 661, image smoother. Okay, so I'm not going to read all these directions. Honestly, I didn't find them very helpful. I figured it out by looking at the examples. But you're given a 2D array, right? Let's look at this one. This is a better example here. You're given this 2D array. And this is going to be your output. Okay? So in this diagram, the 2D array, what this array here is representing the first column, this is representing the second column, this is representing the third. So that is that, that is that, and that is that, right? And so then you're returning the same, another array, another 2D array of the same size, right? So how do we get these new numbers? Basically, you're checking any number that's next to whatever number you're on, right? Adding that number with those numbers together and then dividing by however many numbers you have. So you're finding the average. So we're on 100, right? So we add up 100 plus 200 plus 50 plus 200. That's going to give us 550. Divide that by 4, that gives you 137. Okay, and so that's why we see 137 there, right? So then we're going to do the same thing here for 200, right? Actually, I think it makes more sense to go here. Let's look at this 200. So we're looking at the next number, right? So we add 200 plus 100 plus 200 plus 50 plus 200 plus 100. I already forgot what that is. That's 300, 600, 850, right? 850, we divide that by, there were 6 numbers, so 850 divided by 6 is going to give you 141. So we put 141 there, right? So hopefully this is making sense. So basically you take the number below it, the number above it, the number to the left, to the right, the number to the top left. I'm sorry, let me do it with this, right? So you're going to take the number above it, you take the number, add it to the number above it, add it to the number below it, to the number to the left, to the right, top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. So for this middle number, you're basically adding up all the numbers, then you divide it by however many numbers you had, so 9, and that gives you the result, which in this case is going to be 138. So some of these numbers, I mean, some of these numbers are only going to have 4 numbers. In the case of like 100, in the case of this 100, basically all these 100s, right? They're only going to have 4 numbers, right? In the case of this 200 and this 200 and this, well, in the case of this 200 and this 200, and these 2 spots, right? We'll just use this as an example. You're going to have this number, this number, this number, this number, this number, and this number. So you have 6 numbers, and that's going to be true for that, that, and that. And then finally, like we said, 50, you're going to have all the numbers, so you're going to have 9 numbers. Okay, so how do we do this? Well, let's grab this input and output, and let's move on over to CodePen. Okay, there's our variable and our output. Create a function. Call it func. Let's return image and log it to the console. Cool. Okay. So if let's go back to the image here too. One thing that you want to wrap your head around to start is it's really easy to understand when you're looking at this image. It becomes a little bit trickier when you're looking at these arrays. So essentially, let's choose 50. Okay. So what you need to do is you need to first say, is there? Well, actually, no. Let's look at 200. You need to say, is there an array before this an array with a number in that position, right? So is there another array over here at index 1, right? That would be the number above, right? If you're looking at this image here, that would be, is there a number up here, right? And then you need to check, is there a number over here? Is there a number over here? Is there a number here? And then diagonally too. So is there an array over here with a number in index 0 and an array over here with a number in index 2, right? And then you go to the following, so that would be like checking here and here, and then you need to check the following array, say, oh, is there a number here or here as well, right? Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. So how we're going to do this is, first let's create a variable, a result variable, right? So we can push each one of these new numbers in there. So what we can do is we can create a for loop. I is less than image dot length I plus plus. So if we console.log image at I, you're going to see each inner array. We do. Cool. But we need to look at each individual number in the array. So we're going to need another for loop. So let's get rid of this. For let j equals 0. J is less than, and for this we're going to say image at I dot length, right? Because we're looking at the individual. Sorry about that. Each individual inner array. Say j plus plus. Now if we console.log image at I at j, there you go. You get each individual number, 100, 200, 100, 250, 200, right? So that's working correct. Okay. So here's what we're going to do to solve this. We're going to create, and I'm going to actually paste this in because this is going to be a lot of typing and I don't want to push it through this. So we're going to create a variable for every single spot that we're checking. Ugh, why'd that paste like that? That looks terrible. 1 second. Sorry about that. So one thing I don't like about CodePen is you can't use highlight similar characters and it doesn't format or auto format itself, which is kind of a pain, but whatever. All right, so these are all the spots that we're going to check, right? Top, bottom, left, right, top, left, top, right, bottom, left, bottom, right, right? So if we're in 50, we're going to check top, bottom, left, right, top, left, top, right, bottom, left, bottom, right. And so we can set them all to 0 to start, okay? Then we can what we can do is we can check to see, okay, is there a number above it, right? If there is, we're going to reassign this variable to whatever that number is. If it's not, if that number doesn't exist, it's just going to be 0. And then at the very end, what we can do after we check all that stuff is we can just add everything up. So I'm going to say let sum equals image at I and j, right? Because we need whatever number we're on, and then we add it to each of these variables. Probably should just pasted this in too. Too late. Left and then bottom right. Okay. And so another thing we can do while we're checking to see if that number exists, well, I'll create a variable called divisor. We'll set it to 1. Okay. So we check to see if these numbers exist, and if they do, we're going to increment divisor, right? And then, because what we actually need is not the sum, but the average, we can say let average equal, and we need to round the average down, so we're going to use math.floor, sum by divisor, right? So we definitely want to start with 1, right? Because we have the actual number itself, and then if any of these exists, we change 0 to whatever that number is, and we increment divisor. So if there's only a top, right? Let's say we're on whatever. This is totally fictional, but like let's say we're on 100, and there's only a number above it, right? So that top would be 100. The rest of them are going to be 0. That's only so we're only using 2 numbers. So divisor's at 2. We add all these up. It's going to give you 200 because, you know, everything but image and top is going to be 0. And then our divisor's 2 because we only had 2 numbers. So we divide 200 by 2. We get 100. That's the average, so that's going to remain 100. So last thing we need to do is we go ahead and push result, or push into result. Oh, and I forgot to create, we're going to create like a temporary array up here, like a storage array. So, oh yeah, I left this out. So in the outer loop, we create that array, and then after we get the average, we push into the array the average, right? So that's going to be first iteration of the outer while loop, right? We're going to have 3 numbers. They're going to be these 3 numbers, right? Oh, sorry, here. So we push the first one, second one, third one. That's for that, that, and that. Then after we're done with this inner loop, we push that array into result, right? The outer loop takes us to the next one. We get all these numbers, push in result, and then final iteration of the outer loop is that. Okay, so that's all there is to it. Now that this is, of course, the tricky part is how do we check all these spots, right? And let's go ahead and do this too. So at the end of the day, we want to return result. So now we should just see, oh, that's weird. No, it's not. Because right now we're basically seeing image because right now we're pushing in just the number, and then all these numbers are 0, right? So we're seeing this is result. It's just basically a duplicate image, because all we're doing is we're not adding anything to these numbers. We're just go ahead and pushing those numbers in, because these are all zeros, right? So that's cool that that's working. So now we need to check each one of these options. And this is kind of the pain, okay? So first thing we're going to do is check the top. So we're going to use an if statement that says if I minus 1 is greater or equal to 0, right? So why are we, what is the deal with that, right? So if we're looking above, right, we're looking in the previous array, right? So if this array is indexed at 0 or above, it exists, right? If it's less than 0, right, it doesn't exist. So if that's the case, we say top is equal to image I minus 1 and j. Cool. And so now we see some of this has changed, right? These 3 numbers changed, and these 3 numbers changed because there's things above it, right? These stayed the same. Okay. Now we need to get the bottom. I'm going to copy this. And this is going to be very similar, but it's going to be if I plus 1, and if that is less than image.length, we say bottom image plus 1j. And I forgot something too. What did we forget? We forgot to increment the visor for both these. Cool. All right. So now we need to check to the left. So we're going to say if j minus 1 is greater or equal to 0, very similar to the top, we're just using j now, right? Then we're going to say left equals image at I j minus 1. Cool. And then, oh, we forgot to, keep forgetting to do this. This is very important. Don't forget that. Visor plus plus. Sweet. Then I'm going to go ahead and copy this. Then we're going to go to the right. So this is going to be plus 1. And then this is going to be image at I dot length. Okay. And then this is right. Whoops, and this should be +1. And it looks like I did something wrong. Right. So we forgot to say less than here. Okay, great. So we've got top, bottom, left, right. So now we need top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. Okay. So we're going to need to check two things for these. So if I minus 1 is greater or equal to 0, and, whoops, that's not a 0, and j minus 1 is greater or equal to 0. Did I do that right? I think so. Cool. Then we're going to say top left equals image at I minus 1, because it's above us, and then it's at the previous index, so j minus 1, and then divisor plus plus. All right, so now let's look at the top right. This is going to be the same, but now this needs to be plus. This needs to be plus, and then this needs to be greater than image. I'm sorry, less than image at I dot length. Getting close. Only 2 more to do. So now we need to get bottom left and bottom right, which are very similar to this. So I'm going to grab all this. Just copy that. And we're going to go ahead and just change this to bottom left. Bottom right. Okay, and so now here, we just need to change this to a plus, and then this needs to be less than image dot length. This stays the same. And these both need to be, no, that needs to be plus, that needs to be minus. Right, good. And here, change this to a plus. This again needs to be less than image dot length. And that all stays the same. And then we just change this to a plus. And there you go. Look at that. We got our answer. All right, so that was a lot, but let's go ahead and copy all our code. Paste it in the Leetcode. Let's run the tests. Oops, that's weird. What is going on? Oh, come on now. Let's try refreshing the page. Oh man, did Leetcode lock up on me? Oh no. I'm gonna log in, that's weird. Huh. Okay. And there it is. Cool. Let's go ahead and submit. Fantastic. Sorry about that little network hiccup. I don't know what that was. That must have been something with Leetcode. Anyways, hopefully you found that enjoyable and helpful. If you did, please like this video. It helps my channel grow. If you'd like to see more like these, please like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you again real soon.